Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Paul Karpowicz, and I'll be joined by Rosine and Tara Happy for this presentation. And what we're going to do today is talk about how to start a food waste diversion program for elementary students in K through 6, and in some ways up to 8th grade as well. So the reason this program got started, it actually got started a couple years ago. I gave a grant to Tara Happy, who's on this call, and she's been doing this program for over 2 years. And fast forward to just recently, and I put together a initiative called the New Hampshire Food Waste Diversion Project. And some of you may have seen this. This was a Google sheet that went out to folks and kind of described the program. Carol, you responded to this, and it gave everyone sort of an orientation. So the great thing about this program is we've gotten 10 schools on board, 7 of which are elementary schools, K through 6, and 3 of which are high schools. So it's a really good start. And the reason we're doing this is really for a couple of reasons, particularly at the elementary level. One is to build awareness of your surroundings. So teach the kids about, at a young age, about how you can control your own footprint by what we eat, what we consume, and what we throw away. And what we do throw away has an impact on the environment. So those things kind of go hand in hand. And we'll talk a little bit about that throughout the presentation. The other thing we're doing is we're creating the agency. So we're really giving the kids the confidence to take on these solutions and these problems. So at the K through 6 level, it's all about, hey, I can do this, and be able to orchestrate a campaign on their own. At the 7th through 12th graders, it's more about, not only can I do this, but I can influence others to take action. So I'm not going to spend too much time, but there is a group of students down in Maryland. And they go by the name of compostology. And they started this in the 7th grade. And you can see this here. Hold on one second. And so the 2 co-founders, Advika and Angelina, are now seniors moving on. They're actually going to be going to Harvard University to do public policy. And through this food waste composting group for the last 5 years, they've developed these incredible skills to be able to influence others. So much so that they've really did a lot to not only work with the state. So they got 26 programs up and running. They got a $48,000 grant from WWF to help fund those 26 programs. They advocated at the state level, so they actually went to the Secretary of the Environment and convinced her and the governor of Maryland to set aside $1.25 million to be used over 5 years. So it just really goes to show you that kids can advocate. And my hope is, as we start this program, that kids can get involved, influence others, take action, and do some amazing things. So food waste diversion is a really good place to start a conversation in the schools. And from an economics perspective, it's really good because it actually costs less now to do food waste diversion than to throw away all of your trash out the back door. As we're finding, the cost of hauling away food waste from schools is going up considerably. So just to give you an example, you're seeing invoices of $170 to $203 a ton to have general waste picked up behind a school. And so as superintendents and school board members scrutinize the budget, anytime you can save money, it's fantastic. So it's something I can get involved with at your school and have a conversation with your facilities manager. But if you partner with composters like Mr. Fox and digesters like Vanguard, you can actually save, because you're basically reducing what gets thrown away by a third, or 33%. And in some cases, save $67 for every $203 that goes out the door. So there's ways to save. And again, I can talk to your facilities manager about that. From a learning perspective, kids really learn about what they eat, what they throw away, and how food can be repurposed, whether it's through composting, sharing with others. So some really good lessons to learn in there. And that's something that Tara will go over. Food waste in landfills is bad, as we know. It's really bad in a couple of ways. One, it's creates leachate, right? So this is garbage juice that if you throw food waste into general trash, it turns into liquid, it leaks down to the ground. And if it gets into the ground, contaminates the water, you get things like PFAS. So it's pretty nasty stuff. And so by eliminating food waste from landfills is certainly tremendous. Secondly, food waste in landfills releases methane into the atmosphere. And methane by itself is 20 times as worse as CO2 over a 5-year period. It may dissipate after about 7 years, but the fact is it really keeps hot air in 20 times more effectively than CO2. So if we can somehow eliminate it from landfills, all the better. Lastly, food waste diversion and sharing is one of the best things you can do for our planet. It is listed as one of the top solutions on Project Drawdown. So this is a website I invite you guys to go and check out. This is just an example of what they talk about and how they talk about food waste, and some really good stats in there to learn about it. But one thing I really like about this is if you look at their table of solutions. So this is a listing of all the solutions. I'm going to do it in alphabetical order. So let me see if I can do this again. So basically, it's a list of solutions that reduces CO2 from the atmosphere. And it breaks it down by gigatons on the scenario 1 and scenario 2. If you sort by greatest to smallest, one of the number one solutions is reducing food waste. So reducing food waste, eating a plant-rich diet are like the number 1 and 2 things, the best 2 things you could do in taking CO2 out of the atmosphere. So just a really good solution and fairly easy to implement. Also, it's a great stepping stone to other lesson plans and solutions. So there's a website out there and a portal, and folks I'm starting to work with, called Subject to Climate. And they have over 115 lessons on food waste alone. So when you go there, you'll see that you put in the food waste into the search section, and up will come actually 117 lesson plans. And you can sort by grade, you can sort by standards, you can make sure that it adheres to the NSG-SS standards, the science standards, for example. So you can basically tailor what you want to go over if you're interested. And so that's available to you, and that's free. And they have over 2,500 lesson plans. So if after you do food waste, there's so many more to explore under different categories. And I'm actually in the process of talking to them and to the state of New Hampshire to look at building a New Hampshire hub. So basically, New Jersey, Maine, Oregon, and Wisconsin are already doing this. So this is what the New Jersey Climate Change Education Hub looks like. It's their own site. It's built on the Subject to Climate sites. You have all those courses that you can pull from, but you can also create curated and customized courses for the region. So for example, in New Jersey, they're having similar problems as to what we're going through in the areas of like Hampton Beach. You know about the flooding that took place in January. They are too experiencing flooding, and so they did a actual course just on that alone. So it's something that we're going to look at into the future. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tara, and I'm going to stop sharing. And Tara's going to walk through how over the last 2 years she's evolved the food waste program at Hollis Elementary.
All right. So, hello, I'm Tara. So I am the environmental science at the primary school here. So we have Roisin and I are kind of like partners. So I do kindergarten through third, and then I pass them off to her, and she does 4, 5, and 6. So we had started off a composting program 5 years previous to beginning the whole food diversion. So we were kind of familiar with, the kids knew how to compost in the classroom, in the cafeteria. And that's how I ended up meeting Paul, was through composting conversations. So when we moved forward to doing our food waste in the cafeteria, it was a bit different than what they were used to. So we kind of just practiced. I have access to every kid in the school because they rotate through and I see each student on a weekly basis. So I was able just to incorporate this lesson, well, several lessons, just about why we were doing it, how it was going to work. And then I actually gave like fake plastic food on trays with trash, and like a simulated, this is your lunch tray at the end of lunch. How would you go about getting rid of it? So they kind of just walked through a pretend recycling line in our classroom and just kind of talked about why we can save a banana that's in a peel and why we can't save like the peas that are just on your tray, and what we can save as still good food that can be shared with others versus what we're getting rid of. And we've kind of even taken that a little bit further with the introduction of some, like a guinea pig rescue center, but I'll talk more about that later because that's very random. So we kind of just practiced it because I do have 5-year-olds that are doing this, and it took some practice. So this is kind of what our setup at the primary school looks like. We call it our recycling line. And the students at the end, when they're finished with their tray, they'll walk down this line and put the things they've learned how to sort it. So their first stop is the still good items, like the things that we can give to another person to eat. They dump out their milk so they can recycle their milk carton, and then they'll recycle anything else that they have. Usually it's just the milk carton, and then they're throwing away their trash and their food waste, and then they put their tray. So they helped make these posters, which we actually ended up changing these posters. I actually don't use these posters anymore because what we learned is that they're having the same types of garbage coming from the kitchen, like that's being served. So it's the same bag of apple slices. It's the same bag of granola. It's the same yogurt container. So we ended up modifying our signs to be more representative of the types of trash they were being, not the types of trash they were being served, but what they were coming through this line with. So the sign that we use now, it has that same yogurt container on it. It has the same granola bag. So they can kind of look at the sign and say, oh yeah, I have that applesauce container. Because it turns out our kitchen is serving kind of the same things, not just, actually they don't serve the stuff that was on our sign. So that was kind of something that we learned going forward. So that was kind of our line setup. All of the food that we collect and the liquid milk goes to, here, Vanguard picks it up, and we just kind of put it in its own special trash can out in the back, and I don't think about it anymore. They pick it up and off it goes. And this is something I think that the older kids kind of get into a little bit more. And my students know that they mix our old food with cow manure, and the crowd explodes. Like, it's like, whoa. But I think Roisin, you can get into this one a little bit more because this is older.
Sure, absolutely. So I have something similar to this on our wall in my cafeteria so that kids can see. And it basically starts at the top and it goes step 1, 2, 3, and I have 7 steps. I just wanted the kids to have a visual to see how they actually were, what was happening when the food waste left our building, and how a truck comes and picks it up. And then where does it go from there? And it goes into the anaerobic digester and it sits there, it mixes. And then it shows video, or there's an actual fantastic video that Vanguard puts out, that if you go onto Vanguard Renewables, they have a video. I think I kind of had to dig around to get it. Maybe it's under the press kits. And it actually is a YouTube that you can watch, and it is interviewing the farmers and why they do it, but it gives a step-by-step, and it's kind of nice. The kids can see what has happened, and it's kind of cute. It's kind of cartoony, but not too young, not too old. And the kids can see that, oh, we're actually creating in this anaerobic digester, all of these gases are going up, and now we're getting energy from these gases, and how great that is. And it shows a city that's lit up with the lights, like, oh, we've created energy from it. And then they also have a great picture to show you where the cows, that they aren't wasting anything, that they say that the cows, after they have all of the waste from the food that's mixed, the gases come up. Anything that's left at the bottom of the digester is actually dried materials. So they use that as the bedding for the cows, and it's clean. So they use that, so there's no waste. They also take any liquid that's there that they have left, and they use that as their fertilizer. That's what they're watering their crops with. And they're finding that as they are watering the crops, one, the crops are healthier, that they are getting a better yield, because it's all coming right back into its cycle, and it's not wasting, and they're not using chemicals. They're using actually the liquid from the digester. So the kids get to see this whole process. I'm sorry? Oh, sorry, I thought someone was calling. So it's a nice process for the kids to see. I have it up on the wall so they can see the step-by-steps, and I'm just the continuation of what Tara has already done. So the bins that we have for the trash in our hall, or in our cafeteria, are a little different. She has these little sticks that I loved the idea. You don't happen to have a picture of that, do you, Tara? Or do you have one?
No, I'm looking around. I don't have them.
So it's basically a dowel, and we've taken a carton of milk, or it is the napkin, or whatever it is, and we've put it on the actual dowel, and that we use with a clip and attach it to the side of the trash bin, so they know that's where the trash goes. And then Tara had the great idea, and we were able to get from donations in town some fake food. So we could actually take those and spear those on another dowel, and those go into and attach with a clip to another container, and that's to show where the food goes. So the kids are really streamlined. And then my last step at my building is our containers used to be styrofoam trays. There was an initiative, and I'm not sure if that was Tara, your building, that started it, or if it was up here. But there was a few girls that actually didn't want to have the styrofoam trays, and they switched to the recyclable cardboard trays. Was that you, Tara?
I know I had a class that went on strike and refused to buy school
So
lunch one day.
So that started it. So then that's where it kind of became that they built into that. So we actually changed our system, and we collect all the cardboard trays. We can't use them again, but we can stack them all, and we say it's like a puzzle, turn it around, stack it the way it's supposed to be, so it's one neat stack, and then that can be recycled. And that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's perfect, because at my level, I'm just kind of telling them that they're making a trash pile in the world a little bit smaller. And so they feel like they're contributing, and they see it going into our composter. But explaining this process to a 5-year-old is a little bit is different. So it's great that they've experienced it for so long, and then they move on to you, and it just kind of makes sense and clicks in their body, because it's so seamless.
It does. And they're not going to be the problem. It's their parents, or it's the adults that have a harder time accepting it. It's always the kids pick up and agree to it right away. People will say, oh, they can't do it. Yes, they can. And they're right into it. So
yeah, no, they're great little guys. All right. So, so at our school, we have up to 3rd grade. So it was a lot of our 3rd graders started taking on additional roles once this got started. In the beginning, it was very much me in the cafeteria, pretty much through every lunch all day, just answering questions. A lot of students don't buy lunch every single day. So it might be a student who's only coming through once a week on pizza day. So there was a big learning curve. There were tears on my part, but they really did get the hang of it. To the fact I'm not even in there anymore, really. They just do it themselves. Then eventually we started having the third graders, once they got really, really good with it, they were coming back and visiting the younger lunch grades and making efforts to just kind of stand there and be in the background. They wore their little vests. The first graders thought they were cool. The younger students would actually do better knowing they were being watched by an older kid. But they were there to answer any questions. They helped hold trays. They would help them like adjust their milk carton, pour it for them, or whatever they needed to do. So these helpers were a huge win, because they kind of took a ton of it off of my plate. And I would honestly, I'd get a coffee and I'd stand in the corner while they were like doing this. At the end of each lunch, the older kids would come in with their, in this picture, in one of them, they're weighing them, but they would count up and tally the individual food items that we would collect, so that then they would take them to our refrigerator, so they would still be fresh for whoever needed them. A lot of our still good food in the beginning went to our school nurses or after school programs. Now that we're collecting so much, it gets transported to a local soup kitchen.
Tara, before you switch the page, I just want you
Yeah.
to look in the background of the first
Yeah.
picture with the kids that have there's
over
those
here.
little dowels that
Oh,
are
yeah.
attached that have samples, just so you get an idea of what it looks like.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's kind of what our signs have become. They're not this big kind of thing, but it's enough of a reminder for the students that they look up at the sign to see what they're getting into. At a certain point, they start to look into the trash can to see what's in there, and they'll know like, oh, this is where I put my fork wrapper. So the signs, we had to operate without them one day, and it was chaos. Signs are important. So I did develop a like kind of a food tracker that first year that we did it. And this was probably the most labor intensive thing that the whole program required, because I did want to keep track, to kind of argue the point that it was something that we should continue, because I didn't really know where the year was going to go. I know that we had agreed for the year and that we were funded and all of that, but I wanted the school to kind of buy in and say, hey, look, this is what we saved. So I would weigh all of the food at the end of each day and weigh the milk, and count up all of those cheese sticks, and kind of just to show people what we were actually, and this was like only for a portion of the year, because I think we were up over 9,000 pounds of diverted food waste. And that was just when we had started. It took me like a month or so to start weighing the things. So you could see it's a ton of food that would have normally just ended up in the trash can, which is crazy.
Crazy.
I know that some people really look at that and they don't care. So I thought I'll put some money towards it. So I asked the kitchen what each like milk carton cost, so that I could put a cost to, well, guess what? We throw out $332 of apple sliced bags, and those go uneaten. This is what we've now donated. So it's not as bad, but this could maybe, change somebody's thinking down the line when they realize that this food costs money, costs the district money, and now we're just kind of throwing it out. This year, into our second year, I still keep track of this, because I think it's important to know what we are donating to people, so that people really do remember what we normally would have in the past just put into the garbage can, where all of these unopened food items. I think that's important not to lose sight of, because throwing away still good food is like unacceptable. I don't know, it blows my mind. I don't necessarily weigh everything, but based on our averages from last year, it was about 60 pounds of food and milk a day.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a lot.
Wow. Now I'm just going to add, so this food waste database is amazing. And it really gave us a sense of what actually gets thrown out, and we were able to go to the powers that be and show them, hey, this is actually what we're saving, what we're diverting. And so it's fantastic. For those of you who are just starting the project out, I think just doing like a waste audit once a month would be good, because then you can get a sense of what is on a weekly basis. So if you're, averaging a couple 100 pounds a week, well, you can extract it and say, well, we're going to do, we'll do 1,000 pounds for 200 pounds a day, 1,000 pounds a week, whatever, but we can extract it and we can come up with some numbers. But this is Tara, this is amazing. This second graph is really impressive, and really, it just kind of shows that it really the program pays for itself in terms of all the items saved. It's great.
Yeah. And when I started, like when we started the food waste in the cafeteria, it wasn't just like bam, all the things. We just started off really slow. I think we started in October. I wasn't collecting data like this until like December. Like it's kind of just been a gradual process. Like just kind of baby steps, if you will. But so like as the program continues, like Roisin was talking about our recycled trays, we've now discovered, hey, why don't we recycle these? They're made out of paper. So our third graders, some of them are really like gooey and gross with whatever food was on it. So the third grade team, when they come in to help, they will actually sort them into the clean trays and the dirty trays. So our dirty trays will still end up going to the trash, like if they're covered in spaghetti sauce or waffle syrup, but they will sort through. This is something that they do. And this other picture, this is just an example of one of the shipments of food that goes to the soup kitchen every week. And I was having trouble transporting our perishable items. I was really good with finding time at some point to bring the non-perishable things, but the perishable stuff was tricky. So a school board member has kind of stepped up and helps make some of those deliveries when I can't, because I don't always know when we're going to be having a lot of perishable things. It kind of depends on what the kitchen is serving. And a lot of our non-perishable stuff also goes to the N68 Hours of Hunger program. But I was getting so much that they were like, enough with the dried cranberries. We don't want any more of those. So I needed just another outlet for them. Like, and in the past, this stuff has been thrown into the trash, which I don't know.
And I think,
Anyway.
Tara, also that one of the things that I noticed for the kiddos with response to what they're wanting to recycle and to save is in the beginning, they want to save everything or share. And so I was finding that the kids were wanting to take their ranch dressing little cup and put it into the share fridge. And I'm like, it's contaminated. It's not a seal. It has to be something that has not been touched before, even though they made it and put a lid on it. It's not considered sterile or whatever we want to call it, so that we couldn't use all of those things.
Yeah,
but in the beginning, we're like, oh, I appreciate that, but that doesn't count.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of perfect for our guinea pig situation, because the guinea pigs don't really care if something is sealed. So that's how we kind of, I don't know how we found this rescue center for guinea pigs that's in like one of the towns near us. And for those things that aren't sealed, like the soup kitchen won't take a bag of lettuce that's been opened. So these guinea pigs, we will give them all of our fruits and vegetables, maybe the carrots. If we ever have like raw carrots in the cafeteria, the kids will know that instead of throwing those raw like carrots into the food waste container, there's a separate bucket with a little picture of a guinea pig, and they know that this is going to go and feed the guinea pigs. So the guinea pig center will come and pick up stuff based on, like, even if it's kind of expired and I can't give it to the soup kitchen, but it's just been a fun way. Like I have a slideshow, it introduces all the little guinea pigs. There's a three-legged guinea pig named Queso. So they get a kick out of like, just sometimes I'm like, no, eat your carrot. The guinea pigs have enough carrots, but so that's been another kind of fun addition to just to kind of keep it going. Like they're young, their attention span is like this big. So this has been a good reviving of the whole program. Oh, this was another fun one. We had so many bananas one day that we couldn't, and they were a little bit beat up, not food that I would necessarily give to the soup kitchen. They were kind of squishy, but they would be perfect for smoothies. So we got a bunch of frozen fruit and used some of the extra juices and yogurts, and we made some smoothies to pass out to our whole staff, because they're like, that's a huge kind of extra thing that is going on in the cafeteria when they're trying to manage 100 kids eating. So it was just a little nice give back to people who had been helping us with the whole program in general. They're pretty good too.
Yeah.
I do say so myself. The program in general has like so many options for different little activities. These are our youngest students. These are all of the utensil packets that the kitchen will not take back and use again. So we take them, I have the kids count them, even though they've already been counted, but these are the kindergartners, putting them into groups of 10 so that they can put them into groups of 100, so we can put them back into the cafeteria. not necessarily in the kitchen because that would be breaking the rule, but we put them in the cafeteria, and then the kitchen just doesn't hand out utensils that day. So we can go ahead and use those. All of these condiment packets, they make their way to the soup kitchen, but the kindergartners are the ones in charge of sorting. They're sorting by shape, sizes. They find like this one has squares on it. I'm like, okay, colors, like they have lots of different ways to come up with how they're going to sort all of these random condiment packets. And the best part is that they're a little bit dirty, so we get to wash them in buckets of big soapy water. So it actually cleans my tables too. So many different things like tallying, graphs, lots of different opportunities for kids to just kind of use this as other ways to integrate into just academic subject areas. Oh, this was more, these are the kindergartners helping with the kitchen. The kitchen, we tried to give back, like that is a lot of extra work on other, I mean, not a lot of extra work, but it is taking some efforts from other people. So we now help the kitchen staff recycle their pizza boxes. And I just give every kindergartner 2 pizza boxes, and we carry them out to the trash can and or the recycling bin, and they throw them in, and they think it's the best thing ever. And we've been saving a lot of our good trash, like these cups, like, hey, we could use those again. Once I get a whole bunch of, like, say, applesauce cups that we wash, I'll kind of send a note out to the staff that says, hey, who wants a class set of little tiny plastic cups that you can put beads in or paint in or any other thing. So a lot of repurposing projects have come out of this also that we have sent out into the school. So that's kind of it. I feel like I just went blah. And now there's a whole bunch of words here. So these were just some like general steps to getting started. And that top one is like the getting the supplies, the food waste, the budget, the financial stuff. Like I say, if Paul is willing, just make him do all of that. Like he's very good. I didn't do any of that. He got all the money. He bought all the things. They showed up in boxes. I think if I had to do that part, it would have it was just a lot to get everything out there. So he kind of took care of all of that part for me. And I was able to just focus on the kids. So step 1 is just like telling people what you're doing, just practicing. You have a lot of lessons leading up to it. You can't jump into it too quickly, or else it turns into pure chaos and it just gets a bad rap. So just kind of starting off slowly and making sure that everybody's on the same page. Notify the people in the kitchen, the custodial staff, all the teachers that are on duty during the lunch, making sure that that just everyone knows what's going on. And when I started, I just started with like just the 3rd graders. I just took the oldest group. I told them that we're just testing it out. And we just had one, we just went for it. We just like, today's the day we're going to do it. And we had it set up like completely backwards. We ended up changing everything about it. The flow was wrong. We had a bucket here. It should have been here. Things were backwards, but the 3rd graders were great. We were adjusting things in the middle of lunch. So it probably took us a week or so of getting everything just right. The right size bucket, like the perfect, like, I don't know, cart holder at the end. And just knowing that first time you do it, it's not going to be like that forever. You're probably going to make some adjustments based on how your students like just the flow of your cafeteria even. My suggestion in the beginning is like continual supervision, just to make sure everyone gets it ingrained correctly, so that they don't start to get in a bad habit of throwing away their like ranch dressing cup into the food waste, because yes, it has food in it, but it's surrounded by plastic. So you have kids like shaking their ranch dressing and it's like going all over the place. So just kind of making sure that you answer like every question that could possibly come up with whatever lunch that they have. And then once you get everybody, like the process is all down, you can start adding in the other grades, other students. And then once you get everybody kind of going, that's when I brought in the older students to kind of help as like additional helpers in the whole process. And then that's when I started to step back. So I was probably in there for at least a few months, making sure that everybody was going, like doing the right things. And it just took a lot of babysitting, I guess, in the beginning, just to make sure that the process is working and that nothing needs changed. And now I don't even go in there. I go in there to collect the still good food. I go in there just to say hi to the 3rd graders because they're helping. They kind of just do it all themselves. And I have really young kids, like super young kids. If a 5-year-old can walk through this line and pour their milk into a bucket and recycle their things and sort their trash, I think that everyone else should jump on board.
And then the advantage is they come up to my building and they've already done all of that. So they know the routine. So the work has been done for me, which is great. I will say
Yeah.
the one thing, having our custodian on board has made a huge difference for us. He actually has I don't know, for lack of the better word, it looks like a robotic arm, like the little handle that you can squeeze, if you know what I'm talking about. And if somebody
Yep.
drops something in the food container and they're like, oh, I just dropped something in, I did it wrong, he'll go in with a claw and pull it out. And the kids think that that's great. So they don't think that they're wasting. He can fix it. The barrel's too deep. You can't dig in. You'll get it messy. So he's kind of getting a
That's
kick out of
funny.
it too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
And
I found
so-
last year, our
Go ahead.
our custodial person last year, it kind of like gave him something to, like, I don't know, a project that maybe felt a little more something to do with your time. So last year it was great. But yeah, that's cute. Maybe I need a robot arm.
Keep it on that slide, and it's want to add a few questions. And Carol, if you have any questions, please ask. But we're seeing when the third graders did transition to the fourth graders, was it fairly seamless? Was there any retraining, or did they really just get going?
To be perfectly honest, because I was doing it with the other kids up here, and I did the whole lesson with every student that came into my classroom.
Wow.
So I figured it could be a review, and that this building looks a little different. So the cafeteria looks different than Tara's. So it kind of made sense for me to say, let's just run it through so they get an idea and take some ownership and remember. And once they went through, it's been seamless. It's been fine. I'll go up there every once in a while just to take a look, and I'll look in the bucket just to see. And I'm like, oh, they're
Yeah.
doing good. They have
Wow.
it going. So
Now, is it just the fourth graders or fifth and sixth?
no, I have fourth, fifth, and sixth. They do all
Wow.
of them do it. Yep.
So
So
for
each
your
one.
sixth graders going on to middle school, can you envision them? They can do it just there too. It sounds
They
like.
could. The issue that comes in for us, we are a school district that we merge in the middle school. So we'll have our town will know how to do it, but the town we
Okay.
merge with will not. So then it might be a process to get them all on board at that building and have staff, because you do need to have somebody in the building doing it. I think that's the key.
Fantastic. Carol, any questions you may have, or you feeling good?
Well, it sounds really good. It's kind of like a little bit like when I started over 3 years ago. I was told that, like that it wasn't going to work. Nobody would be on board. And I just didn't listen. And I went, like, we're doing this. And once you get, and it was very interesting, Tara mentioned the custodian. Once the custodian is on board, things move really much more smoothly.
Yeah.
The first year I was the one that was actually lugging the food waste outside and trying to put it into the bigger bin that Meadowstone would actually come and collect at the end of the week. And it was a chore.
Heavy.
But
Yeah.
Custodian, the gentleman that we have is just amazing. And he takes care of that, and he washes the bins that we bring back into the cafeteria for the next day. So really, we're doing pretty good, like
That's
for
awesome.
not having any real structure. We were
Yeah.
able to in the cafeteria. Now, we have been collecting the milk that like the kids don't drink, and we've just been pouring it down the drain. And I like I said to myself, we have to be able to do something else with this. So I'm going to be contacting Tim to see if we could get something going with the liquids, with the milk. But we don't have a lot. At the end of the day, if you look at what our cafeteria staff does a really good job of managing how much food goes onto the trays, and they give the kids like choices. So the kids, if they prefer peas to carrots, well, then they'll get the peas and not the carrots, you know? So there is a little less food waste, I think, in our cafeteria, because we're averaging about, but we only have 140 students in our school. And I think we average about 100 pounds of food waste that goes to Meadowstone every week. So I don't know how big your schools are. So, you know, like when I was looking at your numbers, I go, oh my God, there's a lot.
I think it's
Yeah,
like,
well, and-
yeah.
Yeah, and 20 pounds of that every day was milk, probably. Milk is
Okay.
heavy.
Maybe
But yeah, we have about 400 students here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now I understand, because I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, it's like,
a
Yeah,
lot.
no, but I mean, it's still a lot. Yeah, we have 400 students. But yeah,
In
milk is heavy.
is this like from kindergarten to 6th grade, you've got 400 students?
Oh, no. So at the primary school level where I'm at, kindergarten through third it's about 100 kids a grade. So about 400. And then I
Wow.
think Roisin would about 100 a grade.
Yeah, when in my building, it's 4th through 6th grade, 4, 5, and 6, and we have almost 100 per grade with 5
Wow.
classes per grade. Yeah.
Okay, I've got a tiny school.
Yeah.
Because I 40 students on a good
Yep.
day.
Yeah.
You
But
know-
that food still gets heavy. I will attest to that.
Oh yeah. So like I said, the students have to be on board also. So what I'm doing now is kind of like kicking it up a notch, that they all have snack in their classrooms. So what I'm doing now is that each classroom is gonna have a 2-gallon bucket with a lid, and we're gonna be collecting the waste that they don't eat for snack. That's gonna be an additional. So it'll be interesting that in the 6th graders that are going to be kind of like overseeing this, will also be charting how much food we collect per week. So in addition to what we're collecting in the cafeteria. So that's kind of like how we're doing it, you know, like we're just kicking it up a little notch.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because, yeah, you know, like the kids are doing an awesome job. And so, yeah, I really can't complain. But when we had a staff meeting yesterday, when I told the teachers what was going to be happening, you know, I could see the panic on their faces. But
Yeah.
but-
Yeah, we have compost buckets in each classroom also here. And it took a little bit of a buy-in at first, because some, like, they need washed on a regular basis and that sort of thing, but I don't hear any complaints anymore.
yeah, it was like, oh no, there's going to be fermentation and the lids are going to blow. And it's like, no, don't worry. We're going to take care of all of that. Just,
Yeah.
you know, just give us that space for the bucket, and we'll go into the classrooms, and we're going to talk and like the 6th graders are going to do a presentation next week about what we're going to be doing. So they're the ones that are kind of like, I'm kind of like just overseeing the group
Right.
of kids who are going to be really doing all the work, you know?
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, I like delegating. So
That's
you
awesome,
can't-
Carol.
adults, you can't delegate to adults, you know, like
That's awesome. So, one last question I have for the group. So have you noticed the kids getting a sense of awareness? Is there other project-based learning that you could do off of this? Do you sense like a additional awareness to what's going on?
who are we talking? Are you asking
The whole
all
group,
of us?
the whole group.
Does anyone want to go first?
Go for it.
Okay. I have 2 6th graders, Ashley and Lillian, who actually approached me today, and they're putting together a presentation that we're going to bring to Plymouth State in
Wow.
April about composting. And so, yeah, I have a lot of students that are like very sensitive to what's going on in our environment. And they asked me if, you know, like, if I would help them. And I said, yeah, for sure. You know, it's like, so we're going to get
Absolutely.
together Monday, and we're going to,
Fantastic.
I'm going to be giving them some extra, you know, but they're just amazing, you know, and the health teacher is also bringing something on board and asked me if I would help with one of the students that given him a special project. So yes, a lot of teachers are really excited about this, but I think, you know, like, especially the classroom teachers, I think they're so overwhelmed with so much in testing and everything that they have to do that, you know, like, you can't give them more on their plates. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, I
willing.
think that's the key.
Yeah.
They don't feel that you're just going to walk away from it, you know, like, and let them have to do it, then it's not going to work. But if they feel that they're supported and you're taking it on, and they realize, oh my God, it's not that big of a deal, then they will be able to just oversee their classroom. We'll be okay, you know. But it's baby steps, you know. You can't
Absolutely.
you can't overwhelm them.
Yeah.
Anything
For sure.
for you guys, like Rosine, Tara, like any, have
So
kids come up
for
to you at all?
me, a lot of the things that Tara has already done, I actually was with her earlier this week. We had a professional day, so we were meeting, and one of the things that I've come in my mind is I'd love to do like an after school club. And maybe this is where those kids that are into the composting, like I can kind of build on that
Build
with a
on that.
smaller group of kids, and that we could have something after school that they could be part of, even if it's the collecting of the bins from the classrooms. So she's doing it down there for the snacks. I'm not. As Carol was talking about, she got her buckets. I need to do that and get some buy-in from the teachers, but then maybe this is my way of getting my own little version of my green team.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
thank you guys. This is great. So I'll, yes, go ahead.
Do you have a garden club at your school?
We do not.
Okay.
Yeah. And we don't have, I mean, we have a huge garden that the kids maintain our garden during environmental science lessons. So every kid is out there working in the garden. And then we have families that will sign up in the summer to come and care for the garden, like with water and weeding. But as for a specific club, we have like a nature club that will sometimes venture out to the garden. But that is generally kind of part of my curriculum, like what I'm teaching them here anyways,
Okay. Okay.
at the primary level.
Okay. Now I was curious. Yeah, we started the garden club during COVID, and we just kept on building, and now we've got a greenhouse that's being put up right now. We got a grant for.
Wow. Wow.
So the kids are really excited. We were out there just earlier cleaning up branches that, you know, like tree branches that had fallen and all this. And I had a group of kids. I had 10 kids helping me clean stuff up, and they're all excited. We're waiting for our volunteers to come and help us finish the greenhouse. Hopefully that'll get done in early spring, and then we're going to be able to grow our greens all year round. And we donate most of the food that we grow. We donate it to the community dinners.
Wow.
So the kids are excited about that.
No, that's fabulous, fabulous. And one last
Yeah.
thing I'll mention is I talked earlier about that subject to climate. I had a conversation with Tara about this on the side, but if I'm able to get some more funding for that and the state gets behind it, it's not quite mandating climate education for schools in New Hampshire quite yet, but it's a stepping stone. And with that site, I could see taking that first step and having Rosine and Tara, you guys put together a lesson plan, and that goes on the site, and that is available for every teacher in New Hampshire. So that might be the way to go, I think, for the future.
Cool.
Yep. So thank you guys, and
All right.
I will send out a recording, and thank you for attending, all of you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Paul.
Thank
All
you.
right, see you
Bye.
guys.